Indian instrument. And as you see, it's kind of very meditative, feels wonderful, soothing. And I hope to get all of you totally relaxed and out of your stressful states. Um, the first scene that I'm going to paint for you is my trip to the gym. And I went for this yoga class, and I'm a lazy person. I normally never ever go for yoga classes, but I did because I wanted to, um, relax and rejuvenate. And I went expecting a serene, quiet session, and I lay there at peace in a corpse pose. And all of a sudden, I hear this. And suddenly, my shoulders take a life of their own. And I'm the only one in that room who's doing a corpse pose and dancing. And we'll come back to why later on, because the rest of the room are all still in their corpse poses, and it doesn't seem to affect them in any which way at all. Let's cut to scene 2. I'm sitting in the car with my 14-year-old daughter, and this lovely song comes on, and I start singing my lungs out to it. And my daughter looks at me in complete dismay, wondering what's wrong with me, because this is what is happening. Well, you can tell by the way I use my phone. I'm a woman's man, no time to talk. Don't mind the accent. But I'm happy. Something happened, and I started singing at the top of my lungs. And my daughter didn't like it very much, but I didn't really care, And then let's cut to the next scene. My friend is singing a beautiful lullaby to her infant, and she's singing, Rockabye Baby on the treetop, And then she comes to the part where when the bough breaks, the cradle will fall, down will come baby, cradle and all. And I'm thinking, what? How is that supposed to soothe me? What was that? I was totally into the music and the melody of it, and then suddenly this part comes and I don't know how to react. But then let's cut to scene 4. Christmas time, Christmas carols by the fireplace in winter, and I feel warm and fuzzy and together and family and food. And it's just that the Christmas carols trigger that feeling inside me. Cut to scene 5. My music lover friend invites me to an EDM music festival. And I love music, but my immediate response to that is, no way, I ain't going there. And as much as I love music, there is still something that's stopping me from wanting to go there. And we will come back to that too. Cut to a spiritual chanting session that I'm hosting for people who want to lead a natural way of life and de-stress. And I finished that chanting session, and people are crying, and they're coming and hugging me, and they're asking me, how is it that I have been able to help them? And it's a musical, spiritual session, nothing to do with religion, just music and notes and frequencies that somehow connected with them. Cut to scene 7. Many years ago, me and my sister, we decided to turn touristy in our own country, India, and we decided to visit the border. And I don't know if you guys know, but India and Pakistan, when they got separated, it was a very traumatic experience for the people who had to leave India and go to Pakistan, or had to come to India from Pakistan. It was extremely traumatic. And we were never part of it. We have just grown up, listening to the stories and things like that. And we go to the border and we stand there, and there is this entire ceremony that takes place where they play patriotic music and they play the national song. And suddenly we find ourselves weeping. And we find ourselves, swelling in pride, and we feel like we're soldiers of the country. And suddenly we feel like all patriotic and strange, because this is not something that we went thinking that we would feel, but there was something that happened, something with the music and the atmosphere that suddenly changed everything that we were feeling. It was strange. It was just the strangest thing. And when you look at all of these scenarios, the common thing that we have gone through, all of them, was something that was created and triggered by music. From setting your ringtones on your phones to what we listen to on a day-to-day basis, uh, to how we are triggered into certain memories, triggered into certain emotions, to who we are as people or as a society. There is a very large connection to how music has been an influence in our life. you know um, the first scene that I painted to you, where I went to the gym and I had that crazy movement of my shoulders, that song was not only contrary to uh, the goal of peace, not only musically but lyrically also. It was totally the opposite of peace. It was meant to be a titillating song. And there I was, in that yoga room, feeling a sense of pride, because I felt like that was music that belonged to me. It was mine. I felt a sense of ownership. And there were these other people who were there, who had come with a context in mind, that yoga is equal to serene music, and whatever happens there in corpse pose is also serene, regardless of what that music actually means. So they were dictated by the context of what they had come with, the perception of what they thought this yoga class is all about. However, because I come from the country where this music is from, I had a different context, a different perception, a different reaction. So we heard the same thing in the same place, but we had different reactions to it. And that's a very interesting universality and individual effect of music. And it kind of explains how people relate to music differently depending on their context of it. Similarly, when I was singing Staying Alive, my daughter hates me for that, but it was an indication of the fact that I belong to that generation of music. And at some point, it played a huge part in my life for me to, at this age, burst out singing the way I did. And there was a noticeable physical reaction where I was transported back to that age where I enjoyed that music. And it was there in my head, lyrically, musically, physically, emotionally. And it struck a chord and I reacted without thinking. It was something so impulsive. And then that friend of mine who was singing the lullaby to her kid, there I realized that, you know, the, the power of music transcends the power of words even. Because we hand these melodies down generation to generation, to the point where no one even now questions what we are singing. What are we saying? Nursery rhymes. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown. How violent is that? And there are these huge organizations that are, working towards peace and censoring violence. And here we are singing these violent nursery rhymes to our kids to calm them, you know. And here is again an example how music transcends all of that. It is about the melody that's stuck in our head, and that calms us down. Yeah.
I do have to add, while you were saying this, it triggered my own memory. I was using this application called Smule. I think everybody is aware of that. And I was singing, what's his name? Mike Posner's song, Taking a Pill in Ibiza. And I very happily sing that song, and I have posted it on Facebook till I think Dominic told me, "Do you know what you're singing? What you were singing in that song?" I was like, "Taking a pill in the pizza," and he explained what the pill meant. I had absolutely no clue, and that's why lyrics went over my head. I just enjoyed singing on Smule with him, and I really found the music so captivating. I did not once think about the pill being some psychedelic drug, and and then I looked at myself on that application and was like, I really look high on life. Not on the pill, but that was not, I was not even thinking about it at all. Okay, but yeah, I really get what you mean now. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. And then, that scenario where I painted where my music lover friend wanted to invite me to the EDM music festival, and how I said, no, I ain't going there. why would I do that? And I thought to myself, why did I do that? And I realized the reason I did that was that there's a certain impression that I have of an EDM music festival, which may or may not be true. I don't know. I really don't. I haven't been there and I'm still scared to go. And maybe one of these days I will. I don't know. But to me, in my head, the image that I have is loud, boisterous drugs. And that scares me. So I don't think I'm going. But here's the thing that I don't know how that got into my head. Who made that image in my head? I didn't. I have never seen it. I have never met anyone who's into EDM, and I have no clue. Yet I have such a strong emotion associated with it. It's a negative emotion, but it's something that has creeped into my subconscious mind, uh, subconsciously. So something out there has sent me those signals and painted that picture for me. And that's interesting because it also goes to show how groups are created through music. Certain people associate themselves with certain, uh, uh, you know, types of music. And that's how you identify them. And that's how they express themselves, express their emotions, express their thought processes, their own issues, and that's how the society is suddenly divided into, oh, these guys believe in this, these guys believe in this. Say, for example, a religious sect would have a different musical value, and they would express their thoughts and social issues and their own ideas through that kind of music. And then that will be that part of the society. So overall, you will have a picture of that particular time with different groups of people having different musical ideologies and different attitudes towards music. Some will be extremely aggressive, some will be completely pacifist, depending on what they really believe in. But that's the kind of categorization that can happen through music also. The spiritual chanting session that I was talking about was chanting based on the Indian raga system, and I will talk a little bit more about that later on. Raga system is basically notes and frequencies that are combined together to produce certain sounds and induce certain emotions. And people, after the chanting session was over, were crying or so de-stressed that they were able to express their emotions, uh, uh, like a like how we feel when maybe when people get high on alcohol and they feel like they can let go. So music can do that too. It can get you so high that you just let go. And they were at a point where they were ready to share their lives, they were ready to share their stories, they were ready to be one with another person, just because those certain frequencies created that ambience and that space for them. Um, the power of music is so universal and so traditional at the same time. Uh, the Christmas carols, for example, is a very good example of how values are transmitted through rituals from generation to generation through music and lyrics. As far as Christmas carols are concerned, Christmas carols, I'm not I don't even belong to the culture of Christmas carols yet. I have seen it and experienced it through my friends, and like, for example, now I'm here, so I'm experiencing it here also. But it means for me family, home, warmth, affection, security. It feels secure. If someone comes to my door, someone who I don't know, and sings a Christmas carol to me, I'll probably hug the person. you know So, but if somebody comes and sings EDM, I'll probably lock the door, bolt it twice. So it's the kind of feeling that is associated with music. So it unites different groups. It moves different groups away from each other. It defines cultures. It defines sections of society. And it also binds us together in very different levels. So, for example, a person like me who heard Staying Alive and who doesn't belong to that culture still can identify with it, and it tells my story as an individual. Like I said, that, oh, I belong to that generation where the 80s music was very popular, and so it's in my head and things like that. Although I'm not part of that culture, yet it is my story that is a part of my story. Um, my daughter, she was born here. She studied here. She has no direct cultural exposure of India. And yet, I asked her one day, I said, when you listen to Indian music, how do you feel? And she said to me, I feel cocky. I said, what on earth does that mean? She said, yeah, I just feel like, yeah, it's Indian music. I know it. So behind that cockiness, what did I see? I saw a sense of pride and a sense of belonging. Although she was born here, she loves this country, this is her country. Yet she feels some kind of connection to that music. So much so that she has a friend in school who's Pakistani. And Pakistan and India uh, have similarities in language and, of course, culture, because they were the same country which was partitioned into two. And in spite of the actual political situation in India and Pakistan and how they hate each other, uh, these kids love each other because they have so much in common: the language, the music, and the physical aspect of it also, how they look. They sing songs together, you know, and that is how they feel like they are suddenly together, uh, and they are different from the rest, or they have something that is well, it can be defined, of course, but that they are linked to one another without even saying it. So they gravitate towards each other because of that, because of that, those commonalities. And music is a huge part of that. um, Folk music, which is a dying art, unfortunately, has been a very important part of society because it has been used to tell social issues, to um, carry on myths and legends, and create hope when there was none, inspiration when there was none, motivation when there was none. Um, it has been used to express beliefs, experiences, conflicts of the time, um, and even solve social issues. Like, for example, in India, um, there was a terrible system of child marriage. And there's so much of folk music which has brought that social issue to fore and created awareness about it all over India, so that it was finally um, stopped. Or the idea of bride burning, where the bride would be burnt if her husband died. She would be actually asked to sit on a pyre with the husband on her lap, and she would be burnt alive. And this was a terrible practice. Music was one of the vehicles which was able to spread the message across the country and find people who would get together and resolve the situation. So music is that powerful. Um, Singers and songs were idolized at that time simply because they were considered as messengers of these social conflicts and issues. Um, Cinema and cinematic music, popular music, so to speak, is also a very important vehicle, especially here now in second generation Indian Americans. It has a very big influence on connecting them to their roots and to kind of opening their mind to the Indian culture. And that is true actually for most other cultures, because America is a land of immigrants. We have people from all over Europe, from from Southeast Asia, from everywhere. Actually, it is a land of immigrants, and everybody is rooted into some kind of ritual or some kind of musical tradition. And it's so interesting. It is so vast, and it is so um, beautiful actually, because this is a land where all of that kind of culminate, and we get to see it firsthand, and we get to associate with it as well, all of us. So it's really interesting.
I just
And
want to add
Mhm,
one thing. We are at 10:41, so
mhm.
might want to take questions as well
Oh,
and
yeah,
keep
yeah,
this
anytime
going.
you feel
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Does anybody have questions at this point? Anything about relating to music? Anyone? No? No? Okay, they don't have any questions as yet, so go on. Yeah.
Seriously, ask me
Yes.
some questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so well, okay, classical music, let me talk about that. Or wait, before I talk about that, I have my cheat sheet right here. Where was I? Okay. Yeah. So it's really interesting, through music, you can also figure out what was happening at that time. So if you see, like in Indian music, like Indian classical music, during the colonial times, you can actually find Persian and Arabian influences on Indian music. It's so interesting. What else is interesting is also that certain instruments that are not originally Indian. An example is, I don't know if have you guys seen a harmonium ever? Okay, let me show it to you. Okay, hold on. How do I? Oh yeah, okay. So this is a harmonium. It's like an inverted accordion, really. And this is originally a French instrument, and you basically pump from here and you play the keys from here, and it sounds really beautiful. And I can play just a teeny weeny bit of you for your entertainment. Hold on, let me see. Ooh, this is tricky. Okay, maybe I'll just play it for you and you can hear it. Hold on for a second. Okay, so well, it is it is a French instrument. It came to India, so and it got modified, and now everyone thinks it's an Indian instrument because it's been so long in India, and now it is used in pretty much all forms of Indian music. But it's actually not Indian. So nobody knows that. But it also signifies the fact that something happened during that time where this instrument arrived into this country and something changed. Maybe it was during the time when they were trading with India, or maybe during the colonization, we don't know. But something happened. And these are things that, again, tell us that it is such a clear, description of the times. For example, like now, if you think, almost all of world music is getting influenced by each other. A lot of similarities in music from different countries also we hear. Yet there is some traditional part that kind of sets them apart. But there's a lot of overlap of sound. And that is again because now digitally we are so connected and so influenced, and that now we have so much to hear that we can draw from all these influences and create stuff. So at some point I also feel like suddenly one fine day we'll all become, the whole world will become one, because we are all so well connected at this point that there are barely any differences. um, Other than that, other than being a social and psychological tool, uh, music has great environmental value also. And it has been documented scientifically that something like a symphony, for example, can help plants grow better. And that is so interesting. um, Even in my own workshops, I've worked with people with drug addiction, loneliness, depression. um, it just calms them down, heals them. In the Indian system also, in the raga system that I mentioned earlier, it's it's a combination of notes that creates a certain emotion. And it has been known that certain combinations of notes can heal headaches, cancer, blood pressure, hypertension. um, and not only that, it is documented that there was this court singer in the court of a Mughal emperor. His name was Tansen, and he sang this rag where it started to rain. And it's true, because I don't know if you ever feel this way. When you hear a certain note, you get goosebumps. Your body changes physically. You physically like go this way. Happens a lot with me. It happens a lot to other people. There's certain music that will make you cry. There'll be certain music that will make you laugh.
When I
There'll be
listen to Justin Bieber, I experience that.
crying.
Yeah, that why?
Yeah, but it's interesting that what is it that is so connected with us. There are times, you know uh, that we feel totally peaceful with music. And it's funny because I asked my daughter, like, what kind of music makes you feel peaceful? And the music that she played, I am so not kidding you, Oh my God, it was chaos. Complete chaotic music. I don't even remember its name now, but it was chaos, absolute chaos. I said, how on earth does that make you peaceful? She goes, Mom, you won't get it. You see, so here's the thing, that there is something that she associates with that music that I cannot relate to even if I try. It is the music of her times, things that she is learning or she associates with, which I cannot. It's, you know, how like our parents used to hear our music and say, what kind of music is that? You know, this is terrible music. The music of our time was so wonderful. I find myself saying the exact same thing to my daughter.
Okay, at this point, because we have 3 minutes left, would you mind singing something for us? Maybe we connect with it.
Okay,
Yeah,
this I was so not prepared for, but yeah, sure.
yeah.
Uh,
Maybe something like a minute long. A raga? Would you like to hear a raga? Yeah? Yeah, something that brings showers right now, perhaps.
I doubt I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
she's
Let me
right
see.
about this. There's documented proof that Tansen used to sing and he would have the rain come down, and also peacocks and wild animals, okay, they would surround him and not hurt him at all. They would just sit around him and listen to the music. So it's amazing. Yeah.
Okay. So no questions at all?
No questions? Any questions? Any questions about your music? None? I'm amazed you don't have any questions. Yeah? Okay. Hmm.
Mm, okay, I don't know what to sing. Mm, mm. जब दीप जले आना, जब शाम ढले आना, संकेत मिलन का भूल न जाना, मेरा प्यार ना बिसराना, जब दीप जले आना, जब शाम ढले आना.
Thank you. And what raga is this based on? Could you tell us about that and what feeling
Yeah.
should it actually?
Yeah, it's actually a rag that's sung between the hours of 7 and 10 p.m.
Okay, the time is off.
I'm
The
working
time is
on
off.
yeah, I'm working on India time, and
Okay.
yeah, and basically it gives a feeling of longing and the feeling of wanting your beloved back.
Okay. Does
Yeah.
anybody have questions on classical schools of music, how you relate to, you must know what symphonies are, what classical schools of music are. What music do you relate to, and what does it tell you about your identity? Does anybody go through that? People who belong to different cultures, our parents here, like my son, I'm Indian, my son is American. Like I think about it, how will he relate to my culture? What about you guys? Your parents come from different cultures as well, some of you. How do you feel about that? Yeah. So, two questions? Okay.
It's just a kind of question.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, my name's Lily. I'm gonna kind of connect back to the EDM sentiment because I feel like I used to be a part of that community,
Mm-hmm.
and the way you described the spiritual kind of aspect of the experience that you were describing it sounded very similar to the EDM where the community connects, and I thought that maybe you should give it a chance. Like I think there is that aspect that you mentioned, like the whole taboo part of it, but there are pockets where that doesn't necessarily have to be true.
See, that's interesting now. And I found a person to go with too, Lily. I'm going with you to the EDM.
That would
But
be
yeah,
great.
see, thank you for telling me that, because when I said that to my friend, she did not defend the festival. She didn't defend any of my notions. So you see what I mean when I said that somebody defined it for me and nobody broke it. You just questioned it for me, and I really appreciate that, because now I have a seed in my head that, hey, I might have been wrong. I need to explore this further. You see what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Done. Thank you so much. Sorry. Thank you so much. And sorry that we didn't give you much time. We were supposed to start at 10:10. It just got
No
delayed.
worries. No
Yeah.
worries.
Thanks
No
again.
worries.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Best
Maybe
of
we
luck,
should give her a
guys.
hand.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.